Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Zahruddin Treki, and this is episode 2 of Kulna Tu7af. The guest I have with me today is a very, very good friend of mine, Sadik. شو حالك صديق؟
والله الحمد لله. شو اخبار؟
الحمد لله والله الحمد لله. Sadik, or Boundcast, whatever. I've been a very big fan of your work for a very, very long time. So just give us a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you do, and where you're from.
So I come. First of all, thank you for having me on this podcast. I'm actually excited to see where this goes on from here. My name is Sadik Elgallal. I'm born and raised in Benghazi, Libya. Moved to Ottawa, Canada in 2014. Got into photography in 2016. That's when I first bought my first camera and pursued it more professionally starting in 2018. And here we are today.
So, where do you think you got this passion for photography? Like, where did it start exactly? Did it start in Benghazi or did it start in Ottawa?
It definitely started when I was young. So in Benghazi, whenever I traveled with my family, we had like a small point and shoot camera, and I'd always like picking it up and just snapping photos here and there. But then I went on a trip with my friend here when I moved to Canada. I was in Toronto, and he had a professional DSLR camera. And after seeing the photos and how high quality they were, that's actually what got me into it. So,
No way. I expected it to start like when you came here, because I don't feel like when you're in Libya, just in general, like you can't really get access to a lot of like cameras and things like that. Like, do you think if you had stayed in, let's say for example, like الثورة ما صارتش بكري باي, like everything went on as is, do you think you would have gone into photography, or do you think you just would have dropped it?
to be honest, people back home, they're into photography. Lots of people I know to this day. I'm sure you know, a couple of creatives that I sent you the other day. There's lots of people that pursue photography. However, for my case, it was only when I traveled to just take like pictures of the family. It was never like landscapes or anything like that. I'll actually share a couple of photos with you later of me holding like a point and shoot camera when I was like 12 or something along those lines. However, if I did stay in Benghazi for the rest of my life, I highly doubt I would have gotten into photography, just
And,
because that's not a thing there.
and why do you think that is?
Creativity is just not like people aren't motivated to be in a creative, like I don't know how to say this, but I'm trying to word it correctly, but
كل ابهاتنا يبونا اطباء يبونا
exactly they don't want
مهندسين.
to they don't want to see people هذا مصوراتي هذا رسام هذا لا اقعد مهندس اقعد دكتور اقعد like one of those things out of it. So like creativity is just, you don't get motivated to go into that like corridor of life, you know.
But with that mindset, do you think you would, like, let's say, like if you had that mindset, it wouldn't have inspired you to do anything, you would have just stayed home and done nothing. So how did you go from, hey, you know what, this is more than a hobby, this is I'm going to turn this and profit from it? Like, where did that mindset kick in?
To be honest, my father has always motivated me to do like whatever I enjoy. Like the stereotypical Libyan father of, oh yeah, you have to go into it, be a handisa. I never had that with my father. My father was like, pursue whatever you want. So I think that helped me a lot, knowing that I had my parents' backing of whatever I wanted to do. So I think that's where actually like I got motivated to follow, like do what I like basically, or do what I enjoy.
And did you start selling your photos from the beginning, or how long did it take for you to start selling your photos?
Oh no. My photos were garbage at the beginning. If you scroll if you scroll all the way down my Instagram
Boundcast.
account, like I didn't even want to delete them. I just kept them there just so I can always go back and see how bad I was or where I started. So no, I only started selling like in 2018, I want to say. Basically, no, not even. I think 2019. Basically, I had this photo that went viral of the Parliament Peace Tower.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah, I shot that photo and I didn't think much of it. I've even posted a couple of other photos from that same day before I even posted the photo that went viral. And then when I posted it, everybody started DMing me wanting photos. And then I'm like, okay, you know what? Let me create a Facebook page and I'll just post a photo there. And I only had like 200 like likes on my page there. It was just friends and family. And all of a sudden that post got like 1,200 shares or something along those lines. And like all white Canadians all wanted that photo. And then people reaching out from Chicago, Florida. And I'm like, why do you guys want a photo of Ottawa? And then turns out like they actually used to live here in Ottawa and they just want like a memory
Inspires
of Ottawa.
nostalgia. Yeah.
So that's when I started. I'm like, okay, you know what? There's actually
A
like
market.
a market for it. Basically, like people actually want this type of work. So I started posting on Reddit, Facebook, Instagram, and then people just reach out now.
And before you reach that point, at any point before that, did you think, you know what, like, I'm never gonna reach to this level of me selling my photos. I'm just gonna, you know what, like, طز انا ما عادش عندي صور قاعد مسؤول حوش مد وجهي نقرا قرايتي وخلاص.
I never actually thought of it as a business. Like the whole time, I'm like, oh, I enjoy doing photography. I edit photos. Like I post on Instagram not to gain fame or gain anything like that. It's just for me to show my work. If nothing came of it from the like at the end, I wouldn't mind. It was never a goal of mine to make money off of it.
Like, but did you ever feel like, you know what, like, photography is not for me? Like, I'm not gonna do it anymore. Like, I'm absolute garbage.
I definitely get creative blocks, and sometimes like I'll be editing photos and I'm like, why am I even doing this? Like I'll be struggling to edit a photo and I'll be like, why am I doing this? For who am I doing this? And then so that's why I usually like take 2-3 weeks off just to put my mind back into it. And I'm like,
Just
okay, you know what?
relax and think about.
Never mind. I'm actually decent at it, or more than decent at it, and like I enjoy doing this. And then seeing all the people supporting my work, I'm like, okay, never mind. That's why I do this.
Do you think, um, like, how long does it take for you to like edit a photo on average?
On average, I'd say about 10-15 minutes per photo. However, I've had photos that have taken me 4 hours to edit.
But in the,
So
do you ever go back to, like, I know, like, you'll take a photo like 3 years from now, and then you'll edit it like 4 years later. Um, is there a reason why? Like, just something just click in your head?
I so basically like, I'll take a photo today and I'll look at it and I'm like, okay, never mind. I'm not that impressed by it. But then like I'll take, for example, 2 years off and I won't even look at that photo. And then I go back, I'm like, you know what? Never mind. I've improved my editing techniques. Now I know how I want to edit this photo or
Like, what inspires that change? Like, where do you think that change comes from?
practice, like just continuously shooting. You learn more watching other creators, whether they're Libyan creators, like Libyan photographers, or just famous photographers out there, like just seeing their work and you get inspired by their work as well. So that definitely what inspires it.
Like, where do you think, like, where do you go in a moment, like, when you're taking a photo, like, you know what, this specific angle of this specific area is going to look really good, like, I should just take a photo of this and post it? Like, where does that come in?
I feel like I've always had that
Like an
eye
eye.
for that shot. So I've always had that. But then even then, the more you shoot, the more you have your camera out with you, you start like thinking of different angles you want to shoot the photo. And for example, I try to tell stories with my photos. It's like sometimes if I'm shooting like straight on, it's not really telling the story. So if I take it like from a side, like the side shot and like putting in people into the shot or having a main subject into the shot, then it'll tell the story. And yeah,
Because I've been on shoots with you, right? And like, there's certain places where I go, I will never ever take a picture there, and I will never ever post it. But you somehow طلعها ما نعرفش كيف. يا سبحان الله ما شاء الله عليك طلع في حاجة. I don't know. It just somehow you just magically make beauty out of absolutely nothing.
no, Regali. But like, it's just I start like imagining things. Like I'd go into a place, first thing I'd be looking, I'm like, okay, how can I take photos here and make it look pretty or make it look beautiful out of
Like,
it?
but what are the stories that you're trying to tell with your photos? Like, I know you usually do nature photos or just of buildings, like, but what is the story that you tell behind these?
Each
Like,
photo has a completely different story. If you realize, for example, when I'm doing like all my full photos, ما نصورش هيك وخلاص عرفت. Like there's always like for example leading lines into the story. There's like a bridge that leads into the fall colors. Like you'll imagine yourself walking through that photo out of it. So I'm not just taking a picture of a leaf and calling it a day, you know?
Do you plan ahead of time of what you would like to take pictures of?
When I travel, yes.
لكن قبل ما like let's say زي مثلا تو انت طلعت انت واهلك جايب معك الكاميرا معك باي
تمام.
like what do you go oh you know what like I'm going me and my family are going to Gatineau Park today I'm gonna need a photo of a bench with the leaves behind it for example like during the fall time like do you plan that ahead of time or is it just on the go like هيك جت في راسك creative inspiration.
It's a mix of both. عرفت for example تو لما عديت مع أمي to Gatineau Park actually during fall. I knew I wanted like a photo of a bridge going into like the forest. And then so I knew which trail to go to that would have that عرفت. So yeah, like it's a mix, I guess, because like I'll go there and all of a sudden I'll see like this barn in the forest. I'm like, okay, you know what? It actually looks sick if I take a photo of it from this angle, for example. Like I never had that in mind going to that specific trail, taking that photo of that, for example, barn or shed. However, so yeah, it's just basically a mix of both.
فديما الكاميرا معك.
Almost always.
Like what do you decide on the spot after you take the photo that you know what this is going on Instagram or like what's the process between taking the photo and that photo going on Instagram?
Sometimes photos require very minimal editing. So like as soon as I take the photo, I'm like, yep, that's the one. But I didn't feel so well, for example, for sunsets, because I'm able to completely change like sunset photos.
بالذات
So like
لو
I can
الضي ما
change like
نعرفش كيف
I
يطلع.
exactly I can change the colors. I can like move blues into purples and yellows into oranges and things like that. So each photo, like for example, sometimes I'll take a photo. I'm like, yep, that's the one. For example, when I took the Parliament photo, I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, this is the perfect shot that requires very minimal editing, and I know I'll be posting it. And then there's some photos of fall colors, for example. They'd look a bit browny, dirty kind of colors, and then I'm like, okay, you know what? No, I'm not sure if I'll post that. But then once I upload them like into Lightroom and apply my presets to the photos and go, لا تعرف حاجة يصير منها الصورة هذه.
That like when you take those photos like how long does it like those Instagrammable photos like your Instagram is packed with like fire content whether it be on your own personal page or on Boundcast like how long does it take you to take the perfect photo like your let's say your most liked post how long did it take for you to take
Okay.
that photo and edit it all in all.
My my most liked photo is actually of a trail during winter. To this day, to be honest, it's not even my favorite photo. So I don't get why it got that many likes. It got about like I think 6,000 plus likes on the photo, and I didn't even see it coming. Like I can literally name you 10 better photos I've taken. But I guess
I
with like the Instagram algorithm and all that, like you never know why a photo does so well. But for example, that photo, it took me ages to take the photo. Like I went back to the trail, I think like 3 or 4 times, till one time there was a skier just walking right through the middle. And I just captured the photo and everybody was like messaging me like, is that your friend in the photo? I'm like, no, I generally have no idea who that guy was. It was just right place, right time.
did you ask the guy like when you take photos of randoms you just like ask the dude like yo man can I take a picture of you you know what like you know those TikToks you ever seen those TikToks like oh I
Yeah,
asked a random dude today to take a picture and this is how it turned out like do you ask those guys like yo you know what can I take a picture of you and then send it to you later and see how you like it or does that never
it,
happen to you.
it depends if I'm doing a full on close up or not. However, I always do that. There's like, for example, just this past summer in Istanbul, I think I asked about like 3 or 4 people. One of them was this Russian lady and then this old Turkish man. I haven't posted those photos on yours yet. But for example, the photo of this Turkish man, I actually took a photo of him August 2019. And then I was back in the exact same spot this year and he was there again. So I showed him the old photo and he all like got so excited. He's like, take another one, take another one. So no, I do that as well, but mostly because like I'm not really doing full on close ups. I don't do portraits as much. So I don't really ask for permission. I just capture the shot.
Like is your main source of you posting your photos on Instagram? Like, do you get people messaging you like, "Oh, that's me that's in the photo," or did it just like let it slide? عادي يمشوا فيك.
Rarely does it happen, but it's happened once or twice that people message, "Oh, that's me in the photo." For example, when I shot the Black Lives Matter protest,
Do they ask you to take it down or يخلوك عادي?
no, they usually just want to be tagged in the photo, so I just tag them and move on. Because you're allowed to take photos in public.
Right.
So
But
yeah,
you get those, and you always get like there's always that one annoying person that's like, "Hey, I don't want to be in the photo," or they just yell at you or whatever it be. Like even if you're just taking like حتى أنا لما نطلع taking a video of a random thing, people always like try to move away from the camera or things like that because they just don't want to be in the picture.
yeah, no, that happens a lot, but like no one ever has messaged like, "Oh, I'm in that photo, take it down," because they actually don't have a right to that, you know.
Right.
Because it's my
Um.
photo, it's public space, so you're allowed to actually take photos.
Right.
But
But
yeah, no, I've
do,
never had that happen to me.
do,
Alhamdulillah.
you- do you think like Instagram? Instagram is probably your most used one, right? Like
Correct.
out of Facebook and that. And
100%.
are most of your followers Libyans or is it just متخلط من جميع أنواع وأشكال؟
So when I first started my Instagram account, دزيت لأصحابي والعائلة ومش عارف شنو, and that was my only Libyan followers that I had. So let's say 200, 300 followers all in all. And then the rest were just like Turkish people, Italians, Greeks, Americans, and Canadians. Those are my top 5 locations. And then for some reason, Greeks went out of the way and more became like people from England. So it's a mix of those. And then I didn't have that many Libyans till I made my Twitter account. I made my Twitter account, then it's easier to get into like Libyan
Right.
Twitter
Right.
and people actually
أكيد.
realizing or seeing your photos for the first time. Because all it needs is, for example, for you to retweet my photo for all your followers to see my photos, you know?
Yeah.
It's harder on Instagram.
عشان sharing and things like that. Not everyone views stories and the
E-
algorithms and whatnot.
Exactly. So I'd say Twitter, out of my, I think, I don't even know how many followers I have. I think about like 800 or something. I think probably like 700 of them are Libyans. While on Instagram, it's the complete opposite. I probably have, let's say, out of my 8,000 plus followers, I probably have like only 1,000 Libyans.
Do you like on? Do you market yourself as a Libyan photographer though on Instagram? Because
Now I have. Before I didn't. I just put location Ottawa, Canada, and that was about it. لكن تو حطيت لهم على Libya next to my name to slowly
get
get into it.
more.
The only downside is I don't have any photos of Libya. I don't
Ah,
have it. If I did have that, like if I had photos of Libya, of whether it be Benghazi, Trablus, or Misrata, or Sirte, any of the big cities, any city to be honest, if I had any of those photos, then I I expect like Libyans to really start following them.
لو ترجع لليبيا باي let's say you go back, what pictures are you hoping to capture or what do you want to show in your pictures عشان توا like with a lot of issues going on in Libya like هل بحاجات معاه زي قبل حتى في المناظر. Do you think you'll get those same experiences as you did when you were younger? Obviously not, but do you think you can capture the same places and show the same stories as you did?
Like if I were to go to Libya, like you wouldn't, for example, if I went back to Benghazi, you wouldn't see me posting pictures of like West blood and it being completely demolished. That's not the Benghazi or Libya that I want to
Yeah.
show.
Tora didn't really leave anything for us, right?
Exactly. So like if I were to talk about if I wanted to post photos, I'd post photos of, like sunsets or buildings that are still in good shape or in good condition.
Are you gonna do like well if you do go back would you go like to places you haven't been before like تمشي الغدامس تمشي غريان like take pictures of like areas you've never been or تمشي الأماكن اللي تعرفهم وتعرف إن الصور حيطلعوا 100%.
Both, to be honest. I've been to Gdańsk before, but I wasn't into photography at all. So like I never actually captured it. لكن لا if I were to go back I'd basically start from the beginning. So I can نعدي بنغازي نصورها كلها بعدين طرابلس. Those are like the main 2 cities that I really want to capture, and then عندك Sabrata وغدامس, and then there's so much to capture in Libya. حتى if you go out to the desert and
Sahara
just
and the
drive in the
oasis
desert,
and things
yeah.
like that. Like I've seen pictures of the Sahara like from like Moroccans and people that have been to Morocco and they've turned out like ridiculous. Like that's something that even me not as a photographer, just for me, I would want to just go back وشوف المناظر, you know what I mean?
There's
Like
so many beautiful views of Libya. It's just, you notice that sometimes on Twitter you'll be scrolling at someone like مصور لك في جبل الأخضر عرفت.
Yeah.
You're like, whoa, there's no way that's in Libya kind of thing عرفت. So that's the Libya that I want to portray.
Do you think life in Libya shaped you to who you are and your work ethic?
100%. I got into it professionally at, I want to say 18 or 19. And I think living in Libya and going through what I went through, I think just led to me being more mature for my age and knowing what I wanted to do from an early age. So yeah, I definitely think so.
Do you think, and like, how could your skills benefit Libya? Like, what skills do you have? Do you think, you know what, like from what you learned in the past and from what you've learned as a photographer or living in Canada, like, do you think you could go back and just shape Libya or shape the creatives there?
I can definitely like I can see myself helping the tourism industry big time. Because like sadly, if you go on Google right now and search Benghazi, all you find are pictures of Hillary Clinton and like the U.S. embassy, for example.
Yeah,
That is one thing that I really do want to change. I want to like when you search Benghazi and بيجي يوريك تبسي وأوزو الدعوة الإسلامية like our buildings there وسط البلاد the
البحر
church
الشط
there
and all that.
الجوامع عرفت everything that
Yeah,
makes Benghazi what it is,
yeah.
not a picture of Hillary Clinton.
Or even just pictures from the Thora, because most of, even if I search up Misrata, most of the pictures I either see are either Misrata Mhatma, or I see pictures of the Thora 2011, or I see the war. I don't see anything
بالضبط.
from what I remember in Misrata. You know what I mean? Like, I haven't been to Misrata in a very very long time, but ما تفكرش فيها المناظر اللي يحطوا فيها on the internet. You know
No,
what I mean?
definitely not. Yeah. That's very sad. Like if you Google, for example, Libya, it's just war. That's all you find on Google. But if you search any other country other than obviously like Syria and Iraq, but like you search the countries next to us, if you search Egypt, they immediately show you their beaches or
And the
يوريك
pyramids. Yeah.
القاهرة والسفنكس بتاعهم مش عارف شنو يوريك الإسكندرية ولا تعدي تونس. Out like any other country next to us, Algeria, Sudan, Chad, all of them, they'll show you what's nice about the country. Except us, it's the complete opposite.
I feel like that has to do a lot with the media is showing about Libya. Like, you never
100%.
ما عمرهم يتكلموا على حاجة كويسة في Libya. You know what I mean? Like, look at how many amazing Libyans we have حفاظ Quran, or look at the talent we have في الكورة, or look at the photographers, the singers. ما عمرهم يصوروا حاجات مليحة لليبيا. دي ما حاجات سيئة
Yeah,
يتكلموا
no, they
عنها.
always find the cons. That's about it.
Yeah. Um, do you think like photography, if you go back to Libya, do you think photography would be harder to continue with what's available, or how would you see that?
Not at all, because like all you need for photography is your camera and then a laptop and a editing program. So and they have internet there. They have stores that sell camera gear. Whether you shoot film, you can develop photos there, or if you just shoot digital, then you don't really need much.
أنا مش شايف الأسعار غالية. Like, are things in Libya with regards to photography, like lenses and things like that? Like, I know, like, you can get a lens for like 100, or you can get a lens for like $2,000. You know,
Right.
فالأسعار بمقارنة كندا, are they more expensive in Libya?
I generally wouldn't know. I don't know at all, just because I wasn't into photography when I was in Libya. So like I never actually even looked into it. So no, I wouldn't know how to answer that.
Or even like, well, let's say Lightroom and Photoshop.
Yeah,
You know, most of it now is cloud based. Do you think that's
correct.
something that's easily accessible in Libya? Because I
I'm
know
sure.
obviously they have internet, like, right,
Yeah,
like akida everybody has internet in Libya, but it's not the internet that's the issue. It's the day. Okay, if you got the day data and all of that, you know what I mean?
thing is, when I was back in Libya, most of the programs used were all cracked.
Yeah,
So you download them. You like, for example, now I pay a subscription for Lightroom
for
and
Illustrator, yeah,
Photoshop,
and
for
all of
example.
that,
So
yeah.
yeah, so it's a monthly payment that goes out of my credit card.
Like, in,
However, just because we don't have like credit cards in Libya,
see
most of
what
them
I
are
mean?
just cracked. You just
You see
download
what
a
I mean?
torrent and
That's what I'm saying. Like, do you think that, like, with Lightroom and or Adobe, for example, or like the other programs being mostly subscription based and using cards, you think that's something that the Libyans would be able to access?
100% just because we always find a way around things there.
let's مش على هادي انا قصدي like
Ah,
you know let
فهمني بس.
go about it legally. Let's go about it legally. And you know what I mean? Like you think they could like cards is not a thing in Libya. Like they have cards like ما فيش سيولة في البلاد. You know what I mean? Like
تمام.
ما فيش عملة. You know, like you can't use a like where have you gone in Libya that they've used a credit card?
They
They
use
exist.
they use iTunes gift cards.
Yeah, they exist, but there's not a thing. You know what I mean? ما يستعملوش فيها. فكيف انها تخلي الناس هما you know like في هلبة. Like I know my cousins, for example, my cousins are very, very into photography, but I know for a fact they don't use Lightroom or or they use it, but it's not like the version that me and you are using. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
so you don't actually have to use one of the Adobe programs. There's lots of free programs that you can use that are you download them once and that's about it. You don't need to pay for a subscription or anything, and they're still amazing
Would they
to
would
use.
they
So
would they come out exactly as other programs, or
yeah,
is there
yeah,
an
because
advantage over one over the
it's
other?
Adobe's just a massive name,
Main
massive
one,
brand name.
yeah.
So that's why everybody goes for it. However, there's lots of other, for example, for video editing, there's Premiere, where half of the videographers use, and then there's like different Final Cut Pro, and then like DaVinci. There's like DaVinci. Sorry, I don't even know what it's called to be honest. However, but like there's lots of
DaVinci
different.
تفكر تيك توك. Shout out my boy
But
Doug. Shout out my boy Doug.
you probably won't
Um,
even listen to this. But yeah, like there's lots of different programs that you can download. It doesn't like you don't have to just download Adobe Lightroom, and you can use your phone. For example, the Apple editing software that they
right.
have on the phone, and that can do a lot as well.
Do you think those like as a beginner, you think starting out with like inexpensive tools and then moving your way up, or do you think go big or go home?
No, 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 no. I always start from like because like you'll go into this new career for yourself. For example, you want to go into photography. You don't want to be spending like thousands of dollars and be like, never mind, this is not
ما
my career for
عجبتكش.
me. It's not something for me. So no, no, I definitely say start like buy the $400 camera, $300 camera, see how you like it, edit for free, use free softwares, and then slowly, slowly upgrade if you end up liking what you're doing.
Like, what is this advice you'd give your younger self as well?
That is
Or
what I did, to be honest, when I first started. I bought a
um,
very basic DSLR crop sensor camera. It was I think about like $400, and then like two lenses, one that came with the camera, and then one that I bought for like another $200, something along those lines.
like في حاجة لما انت كنت تبدأ you know in your beginning في حاجة قلت انها like oh yo تندم عليها ولا do you have no regrets of from what you've learned now as a photographer, of course, you know it's been like 2-3 years you've been doing this like professionally. Is there something dumb like do you say you know what like مفروض ما درتهاش لما انا كيف بادي, you know what I mean?
فهمتك. I'd say probably the only thing if I were to go into like specifics is just shoot raw instead of just shooting regular JPEG. Just because you're able to store so much data into the photos, you can
And
always go back and
it,
change however you'd like.
is it easier to edit when you shoot raw, or is it easier when you do JPEG like
It's
JPEG?
it's easier to manipulate the photo when you shoot raw.
شو قصدك؟
تقدر تغير حاجات واجد الصورة. For example, the color of the sky. You can easily change it when it's raw. It's way harder when it's JPEG. عرفت? Because basically when it's JPEG, it's like imagine there's like this massive screen on top of the photo, and you're just editing the screen. عرفت?
JPEG خلاص ما عادش تغير فيها شيء.
عرفت? For example, you probably realized that تصور صورة بالنقال بتاعك because your phone shoots JPEG, and you go to change like the warmth of the photo. The whole photo just changes into either an orange reddish, or into like a purplish bluish.
Right.
However, with RAW, you're
الصورة
literally
تطلع زي ما
changing
هي.
every single pixel or every single color by itself.
You know the funny thing is right now, iPhone. I don't know if you saw it, but Apple just released an update. I think maybe 2-3 days ago, where you can now shoot RAW on the new iPhones.
Oh no, I didn't see that. So
Yeah.
like, however, you could have like beforehand, you could shoot RAW on iPhones. However, but you needed to download like a specific app. For example, Adobe Lightroom in itself.
Yeah.
On the phone, you can actually use the
And then
camera on the app itself, and it shoots RAW
oh
for
no
you.
way, I didn't know that. They تصور طول من الاب ما cool.
بالضبط. So you wouldn't actually use the official
Yeah,
camera app.
but Apple now shoots raw. Take that in. So you can basically, from what I've heard now, like based on what you've said, you can shoot raw straight. Like if you get an iPhone and shoot raw and edit those photos, you can pretty much start out as a professional photographer just with an iPhone,
All you need is an iPhone to start.
literally. And
Not
just
Android, but
and just
any iPhone.
iPhone Visco, and there you go. That's your photography career.
That's the shit. You can use Snapseed or Lightroom, or you can just now the like the editing software on Apple itself, like on the Photos app, is actually very very good.
Really.
You can change lots in photos. However, just you won't be able to edit raw photos. But like if you're just shooting regular JPEG photos,
I haven't tested out. I haven't tested out shooting raw right now, but I'm gonna test that out. See if I could change a lot from the photos up with the raw. Like, because if you could shoot raw straight from the phone, theoretically, you should be able to shoot um like and edit it from the photos up. You know what I mean?
I don't know if it saves to your phone as a raw. However, for example, Lightroom, just because it's a
No, because Apple, like from iOS 13 and above, everything now saves
oh
into files. You know what I mean?
yeah
So I think that's how they'd go about it.
yeah. So like shooting raw, for example, you're able to underexpose photos. For example, Fatallah, when you're trying to shoot a photo of someone behind the sunset, it's either you're exposing
الوجه.
for the sky or you're exposing for the face, and then
Right.
the other one's completely overexposed or completely underexposed.
Yeah.
So when you shoot raw, you're able to underexpose and get so much back. So you're able like to increase the shadows without actually including noise or grain into the photo. So kind of photo whenever you like you start to brighten up a photo, all of a sudden like the whole photo is like noisy and grainy.
Is there like any advice with editing or just advice in photography that you would give to yourself, to
Don't
your younger
overdo it.
self?
Don't overdo it. Anybody that starts always like, oh, clarity, increase that to
Exposure.
100, saturation, increase that to 100, vibrance, increase that to 100. So if you realize anybody that starts photography, all their photos are like very colorful, like way too much. Like the blue is like
The blue is blue and the red
very,
is red.
very powerful blue, you know? And you're like, what are you doing? So that's usually like how you can tell someone that just started photography, but we all go through that phase when we first start.
Is there any advice you'd give to people back home, like just starting out, or just photographers just starting out,
Honestly,
other
just
than don't overdo it with the
yeah, it's like
colors?
don't overdo it and just keep shooting. No matter what, just keep shooting because sometimes you'll take a photo and you won't realize how good it is till you go home and put it on like your laptop or your computer and you see it out wide and you're like, okay, never mind. It's actually a great photo. So yeah, just keep shooting.
Do you have any big projects coming up? Like any sneak peeks that I can get?
Uh, I'm editing lots of my summer 2020 photos. I've only posted like
Turkey.
yeah, so I posted only a handful of the photos. So now I'm finally like I went through the other day, I think like 2 days ago, I went through like most of my photos and I uploaded them to Lightroom, edited them, and I'm like, you know what? I'm excited to post these. And I think that's like the best feeling is when you're excited to post.
Or
Usually
even
when I don't post on my account, it usually means like I have a photo that I want to post, but I'm not excited about it. So I just keep putting it off.
why do you think that is though? Like why are you just not excited about it? Because obviously, you know that all like your friends and family, everyone is gonna support the photo no matter like because like انا مش زيك انت, you know what I mean, في التصوير, of course, you know
Yeah.
what I mean, like انت actual, you're an actual professional photographer. Me, I just like looking at pictures.
Hmm.
It's like, ooh, pretty picture, let me share that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
ما تفرقش عندي and ما تفرقش عند الناس التانيين, you know what I mean? Like
Sounds like Dr. Anna.
where do you go like, hey, you know what, like I don't really like this photo, like why don't you just post it?
Like some photos that I never even post, I know people will still support and people will like, not just support because I took it, but they'll actually like it. But before I post any photo, I need to like it. I need to be
Ah,
impressed by the photo, about the shot itself, the edit, the
ما
story
انت
behind the
ما تحطش فيها
photo.
للناس pretty much. ادي
No,
فيها
I
لروحك.
post my work out of it.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like نبي نوري الدنيا كلها الشغل متاعي.
yeah,
I want something that I'm proud of.
yeah, yeah.
حاجة that I'd be impressed if it was on a wall in a gallery or something someday. I don't want to be walking by and like, yeah, it's my photo. I'm not really a big fan of it out of it. Like I want to be fully impressed by my own photo.
So with that being said, where do you see Boundcast 4 to 5 years from now? Like Akida, you've seen the growth in your own page. I've seen the growth in your own page. We've like everybody has seen the growth in your work and its progress from being
Where
like
it started.
where it started and how it is now.
Correct.
Where do
So
you where do you think it's going to go, or what do you think, like where do you want it to go?
I want to see myself working with like big brands and like hotel chains and restaurant chains and things like that. So like hopefully one day you'd be scrolling on, for example, Instagram and you'll find an ad, for example, for Hilton, and that photo would be taken by me, for example. That's like the goal for me. Or like if you're walking in the street and there's like a billboard advertisement, and it's like, okay, yeah, that photo, I took it out of it.
ما
That
تبيش like you don't want to go and do your own thing, like you know what, like you know those, you have like a lot right now, like I forget the guy's name, the Libyan Irish guy, is he
yeah,
Irish,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
where he
I know you're
goes and
talking
takes
about.
pictures of where he goes, or you have like people that just travel, like you don't want to do you want to do travel shots, or do you want to just do like illegit, you know what I mean?
100% because when you get, for example, sponsored to go take pictures of the hotel, they pay for all the travels, they pay for everything there out of it. So
Your
that is
main
definitely that is
is
definitely a goal. Yeah,
to be a travel photographer. What are what are like um what are 3 words you would use to describe Sadiq and 3 words to describe Boundcast? And what's similar between Sadik Elgallal and Boundcast?
definitely dedicated. That is a word I'd use to describe both. So I definitely use the word dedicated for both Sadiq as well as Boundcast. Uh, I'm blacking out for words right now. If you can't
صعبة هذه
see,
شوية to be honest. أنا هذه question قلت أنا you know what خلينا نسألها نحطها في تركينا عشان أعرفك عندك جواب pretty much to everything. You know what I
that
mean?
is definitely a question I didn't see coming.
قلت مستحيل يزبطها هذه قوية. هذه the one to Mayweather, you know what I mean?
Well, that's the question you should tell people about before.
Dedicated, definitely. You know what? I see you. I like you persevere. That number one, I see you as a very perseverant dude. Because think of it this way, right? Yo, I've seen you go in a blizzard. Um, what is it called? When we have like frostbite warnings,
Yeah,
you're going out and taking photos. So like you persevere a lot more than anybody. I've also seen you take pictures in extreme, like in like obviously الحر بتاع Canada is not like Libya, but I've seen you take pictures in extreme heat in Canada. وتقطف
correct.
المية. So perseverance, I think, is one.
I'd
Um,
say easygoing. Easygoing, that is for Sadiq more than Boundcast. And then for like Boundcast, I'd say I hate talking about myself and like
but the whole idea behind this is you talking about yourself. That's the whole, that's if I was gonna talk about myself, I could go on for days, but it's not about me.
I hate calling myself Boundcast basically.
Well, obviously, like Boundcast. Yeah, where did you come up with the idea for Boundcast? Like, where did the, like, hey, let me call myself Boundcast. Like, away from the question, so you could think about the three adjectives to describe yourself. Like, where did the idea for the name Boundcast come?
So like I had my German friend who was into photography and he had like his Instagram account and I'm like, are there any tips for me starting my account? He like, you just need like an easy name. Like don't put Sadiq photography or something along those lines because that's just very generic.
Sadik photography or Libya Harra or Susu.
Too sweetie. But like I needed a company name basically. So I went on like lots. Like I kid you not, I spent 2 hours on like random name generators and all that, trying to find a name. And then finally I found Castbound. I'm like, okay, you know what? That actually sounds good. So I go on Instagram and I choose that name and it was taken. So I'm like, I'm digging in really deep and I'm like, okay, what if I just instead of it being Castbound, I just go Boundcast? and it wasn't taken. So I'm like, okay, you know what? Let's do it. And then actually,
And
I'm impressed by myself for creating like a brand name that everybody knows of, and
when
like it just rolls off of the tongue, you know?
when did you take that? When did you take it? You said started in 2014. So 2014
No,
was
no,
it?
August 2016.
August 2016, you chose the name Boundcast, and it is now forever ingrained in stone.
Literally the day I created my Instagram account, before I told any of my friends about my account, I literally went put that username. Okay, that was the start. I had a logo going on for the longest time on my account.
That's kind of like me. So
Yeah,
you
I had
remember when I thought of the idea. Like think of it.
yeah.
When was that? May? Probably before that. April.
mm,
Yeah.
Before that, yeah,
Yeah. April. Like the idea for the podcast obviously came for like a while ago. And then I
yeah,
never took the steps until May. And then look, I have an email, like the email, the at on Instagram and Twitter. I never used it till
yeah.
this day. Like I just started using it. You know what I mean?
And I still remember when you messaged me, like asking for tips on the name and then the logo. I remember
You see
being
what
on
I
a
mean?
house party during first lockdown and just talking about it for hours and hours, and going onto Photoshop and just editing a logo for you, and then messaging Wasim saying how the logo was coming through
and
because I
and
knew he was working on it
and
as
look at
well.
how we are. See what I mean? Like, obviously, do you think you'll like from creating Boundcast? Do you think you have any regrets with the name, or do you just
Not at all, actually. Like that's one of the things I'm very proud of. One thing I wouldn't change now.
it's iconic?
Because like even in the Ottawa photography community, if you say Sadiq, most people won't know who that is. But
Boundcast.
then the second you say Boundcast, everybody knows who you're talking about.
even
I'm not
I
even
even
exaggerating.
even I think my friends like when you came to visit, I told them, oh yeah, my friend's league's coming. Like, who's that? Like Boundcast. Ah, okay, makes sense.
Yeah, like most of them know me by my Instagram handle.
Do you
Like I'll
have?
go to like photography meets and I'll be like, "Oh, hi, my name is Sadiq," and they're like looking at me. I'm like, "You probably know me by Boundcast." Oh, that's you. So that's why I finally decided to put my photo as my profile picture,
After how
just so
many
some
years?
people can recognize the face
Yeah,
after
put a face
almost
to the
four,
work. Put a face to
three and
the
a half
work.
years. Yeah, basically put a face to the name. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have regrets in general with Boundcast?
None whatsoever. I regret going like for example a month and a half without posting sometimes, but like other than that, no. Like I'm trying my best to be consistent, especially this year. Like my goal is to post at least once a week, so that's minimum 52
You've already started
posts this
slacking on
year.
that.
No, no, because
Well,
I can easily post twice a week. How? I already posted once.
yeah.
It's only we're recording this on January 7th. I've already posted one, and I have like six waiting for me to
Yeah.
post.
Okay, so it's been a week now. So you posted once. Okay, so you're set.
Correct.
You're set for this week. Now you
Yeah.
just gotta keep that going. And you're saying
Yeah.
it.
No. No.
You're saying this on the
Inshallah.
podcast, so this is written down. I'm gonna
Oh no.
replay
No.
the audio for
I
you.
know that. I know that. It's just no.
you're,
Inshallah. I
you're
won't
holding
let
your. You're setting
you or
pretty
the
high
listeners
standard.
down.
You set the standard pretty high.
Yeah.
So back to the final question. Like, what
Hmm.
are three words you would describe Sadiq and
Okay.
Bankas, and what
I'm
is
gonna
similar?
I'm gonna describe them as one. Okay. I don't
Okay,
want to do the split Sadiq podcast type of thing.
but they're different personas. You know what I mean?
They definitely are, but at the same time, it's the same person running both out of it.
Uh,
So I'd
I
say for
guess.
both dedicated, um, accountable, and I'm not sure what the last one would be. Maybe honest. Like I say it how it is. Like if I've been MIA just because, like
The
for example, for posting on my photography account, and like if I've been MIA because I just didn't feel like posting, I'd just straight up say that.
honest in that sense, or is it honest also in your work? Like, do you like you show everything,
Both, as in if I post a photo, I'll post the like if I know I changed lots in the photo, I'll post it before and after.
and like
Like
even or honest with the stories that you tell or where you've taken it, type of thing?
100%. Like if anybody asks about any location, for example, especially for example if you go through my fall photos,
Yeah,
every single post there's at least two, if not three people asking, "Oh, which trail is that? Or where was that taken?" And I'm not the type of guy to be like, "Oh yeah, it's just taken in Ottawa, and That's about it. I don't have like
That's a kind of hate about like I don't know if you've seen fashion like Instagram pages, but a lot of them never post like where they got their clothes from, which kind of annoys me a little bit because you know how much I love clothes, and so
yeah.
and whenever I see like a pair of pants that I really like or a t-shirt, things like that, and they never tag something, it just
S-
annoys me
Same thing with the photography community. There's lots of people that if you ask where they took it, they're like, oh, I took it in downtown. Be like, okay,
because
yeah, I
they
know
don't want
that,
people
but
stealing their
where?
work.
It's not even stealing the work. It's just I was inspired by this photo. I want to put my own spin on it. I love it.
Do you think that if you post a location, maybe someone will take the same shot and just not and they'll just not tag you like remember like you me and you were there, like remember in Toronto you took a shot, that was your shot, like that was your shot, and I seen it with my own two eyes, you take it and you post it, and then someone else went to that same spot and copied your exact same photo,
it,
and
it happens a lot, and
they got more likes and shares, they got
like
posted by Complex.
like I can't like say that. Oh yeah, he definitely took it from me.
Well,
Most
obviously.
likely because it's literally the exact same thing, and it's not something that's been done a lot or been done at all. It's like I'll be like, okay, yeah, he probably took it just because I use hashtags and that's how people find photos. But like at the end of the day, it doesn't really change what I do. I still post just to show my work. If someone wants to copy it, then so be it. There's not
So
much I can do
you're
about
just
it.
you're just proud of your work and what you do, and no matter what, it's still you're still proud of it,
Like
regardless.
imitation is the best form of flattery, whether they give you the credit or not. So honestly, it's just, like I can't complain out of
Alhamdulillah.
that. Alhamdulillah, always.
Bye, Sahid Haj Sadiq. Thank
Thank you.
you for being on the podcast. Really appreciate your time today.
Thank you for having me as your first guest. It's an honor.
You know, I had to flex it a little bit. I'm friends with Boundcast. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Let's keep an eye out for tomorrow's post.
We'll do. We'll do.
That
Yalla.
is something I'm excited about.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And this has been episode 2 of Kulna Tu7af.